Sheva Carr is the architect and director of HeartMath's HeartMastery program, the CEO of Fyera Heart Ambassadors, and the founding executive director of the Fyera Foundation and SunPower Kids. She is featured as a love luminary in Marci Schimoff's New York Times bestselling book, Love for No Reason. As a doctor of Oriental Medicine and HeartMath trainer, she has authored several books of her own, most recently being The Source of Love. Sheva speaks to people all over the world on how to access heart intelligence and inner peace in order to receive the benefits of the heart's impact on consciousness, health performance, creativity, social change, and to create cultures of personal and global peace.
So thank you so much, Sheva, for being here with us. You've been one of the biggest mentors in my heart journey. I admire you and I appreciate everything you've done for me. You know, the HeartMastery program that I've been a part of, just all the incredible things you've taught me, the way you carry yourself. You're a true heart ambassador, and we're so grateful to have you with us tonight, sharing on the magic of the heart, which is the coolest topic in the world.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here.
Oh!
Right along there with Rhonda, give a little nod to the holiday that we're on. And say part of the magic of the heart is that it allows us actually to take off our masks rather than put on masks. And so, you know, it's so funny always to hear one's bio, because even those things that show up on our resume are part of our mask, part of our out-facing image to the world, but it's not really, our accomplishments aren't the heart of who we are, nor the magic where the heart lives. Everybody just who's on camera just for fun, point to yourself and just notice where everyone is pointing. Nobody goes like this or like this. Our intrinsic sense of self is in the heart of who we are. You don't pick up your, well, unless this is one of the problems actually with the acting profession. If you're on Broadway, or if anybody's seen the Broadway show A Chorus Line, and people are asked to show themselves, they pull up their headshot and their resume. So we dehumanize ourselves with those masks. And a huge part of the magic of the heart is the ability to align with the authentic inner self and let that be our outer expression, rather than these other ways we try to present ourselves to the world. So I see Eve just put in the chat, laugh out loud, my camera will not function again. Not hiding behind my picture can't fix the camera. It's all fine. It's all legal. It's just that the heart gives us access to an inner security so that we no longer feel the burden and energy drain of presenting an outer image one way or the other. We can just relate to what is. My husband and I joke around that my style is inner security, because I'm known to wear plaid with stripes and polka dots and flowers on my shoes, because we're just living up here in the redwoods, and I dress for comfort these days since COVID more often than appearances. So we have inner security fashion, but it doesn't mean you have to embarrass yourself either in how you look. It just means your priority is connected to something deeper, something more intrinsic to who you are and how you feel. So I'll just give you, I really want this to be a dialogue, but I'll just give you one example of the magic of the heart. And I'm actually going to put, because Kyle asked me on this Halloween to speak about the magic of the heart, I looked up the Oxford Dictionary definition of magic, and here it is. It's a noun, the secret power of appearing to make impossible things happen by saying special words or doing special things. I'd never heard that definition of magic before, but I love it. And without question, I think that is apropos to what the heart can give us. It turns impossible into I am possible. It adds an apostrophe, a hook. And in fact, one of our taglines at my nonprofit is making impossible good real with the power of the heart. And there's some science behind that. So typically we think of magic as some kind of woo-woo that isn't real, but the magic of the heart that allows impossible things to become possible is real, and it's grounded in science and physiology. So when we talk about the power of the heart, each heart cell is its own battery. It's broadcasting an electromagnetic field that has pervasive and profound influence on the environment around us, especially when we know how to harness that field. If you want to make a comparison, the electromagnetic field that the heart puts out can be measured by crude instrumentation at least 3 feet beyond the body, whereas the next electrical oscillator is the brain, and we can only capture that field 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the head. So this field it's like a radio broadcast. It's got some amplitude to it. And one of the ways that power unfolded in my own life yesterday. So when we talk about like trying to accomplish, for example, overcoming addictive or compulsive behaviors, willpower, probably all of you here could relate to the fact that willpower doesn't do it. You can't will your way, because will fades at certain points, or when our energy gets low, we don't have that willpower. But heart power, because of its pervasive influence on the environment and the rest of our physiology, actually works to overcome addiction. Another way that heart power expressed in my own life yesterday, and I don't know if all of you could relate to this, but a year and a half ago when COVID started, I had a falling out with a dear family member where we disagreed about how to take necessary precautions during COVID. And I felt this family member was putting other family members in jeopardy by disregarding that. And so we had a big fight. Anybody here besides me fight with anyone over COVID? And this person was so upset with me for not agreeing with their approach that they refused to talk to me for the last year and a half. Even at other mutual family events, if they knew I was going to be at a family event in Zoom, they wouldn't come. And yesterday, my husband and I called to check on a family member. So here's the deal though. So during that year and a half, every day I've just been sending love to this person from the heart. In fact, why don't we do it right now together? Can everyone think of either someone you have an arm's length with or feel estranged from, or a disconnect where you'd like to reconnect? Can you all think of a situation like that? So just focus your attention in the area around the heart, the chest area. If it's helpful, you can put your hand there. And with your attention focused in the area around the heart, imagine the breath is flowing in through the heart and out through the heart, letting your inhale and your exhale be even in length. So if it helps you, you can count as you breathe in and count as you breathe out. And with that heart-focused breathing, just activate a renewing feeling such as love or care or compassion for yourself and this person. If you have a favorite memory with this person, you could breathe appreciation for that memory in through the heart and out through the heart. And imagine radiating that feeling of care or compassion or appreciation to them and to yourself as you breathe in through the heart. And out through the heart. As you do that, just notice, are there any changes in your body, your emotions, or your thought process as you do this heart-focused breathing with the activation of what we at HeartMath would call a heart feeling, like care or appreciation or compassion? If you notice any changes in your body, emotions, or thoughts, I invite you to put them in the chat, what you observe. I notice my shoulders relax. My jaw was tense before and I didn't know it, so it's relaxing. Anne says her body softened and she feels more at peace. Same here, says Birgit. These changes you notice in your body, would they save you energy or drain your energy? Thumbs up if they save you energy, right? I'm only seeing thumbs up. So how many of you would like more energy at the end of the day? Would it be magical if you had an inner source of energy and didn't have to pay Starbucks for it? Part of the magic of the heart is that it puts out more energy than it takes in. Science still doesn't know how that works. So when you give your heart attention, by the way, in Latin, attention, the prefix a means without. So giving it attention releases tension, which is an energy drain, and gives energy to a system that's building more energy with it. So instead of reaching outside ourselves for energy and stimulation by reaching for coffee or internet surfing or whatever your stimulant is that you prefer, when we run out of energy, we can actually reach into our own heart for that. But it doesn't just help us. It actually travels outward and it impacts others. And that is the biggest magic of the heart that I know, one of them. So yesterday, one of our family members has a cold and we called to check on her. And not knowing that she was at the family member's home that we'd had the falling out with, watching movies. So she picked up, put us on speaker, and the love between all of us just poured out as if nothing had ever happened. And we all talked for an hour. That kind of reconnection and rekindling of a love blocked and a heart shut down, to me, is magical. That's the power of the heart. Now, the heart also has a brain in it, so maybe we'll talk about that. You have brain cells in your heart and heart cells in your brain, which leads to even more magic. But I've been talking quite a bit. And so, Kyle, I see a hand up as well from Robin. I don't know if we want to.
Yeah, for sure. That was amazing. We'll go to our good friend Robin. Whenever you're ready, Robin.
Okay, well, I didn't mean to have my hand up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I raised my hand when you mentioned the Starbucks. I did.
Ah, got it.
I guess I just left it up there. But anyway, yeah, I don't have a question or anything. I love everything you're saying.
Beautiful. Thank you, Robin. And I did see that Annie put in the chat that focusing on this made her feel sad. Annie, I don't know if you want to unmute and share more. Is that sadness because you are hurting from this disconnect?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Hi, yeah. I've been attending some of these workshops and yeah, I can't feel anything. I was trying to like send love and feel it, send it to someone in my family, but it makes me like emotional because I really can't feel it. Like I put my attention there, but I feel void or emptiness, and it's confusing. I mean, I know why I don't feel, but it is like a little sad.
Well, if you're feeling sad, that is feeling.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think it's true that you're not feeling. Are you able to share with us? Is it safe for you to share with us what you're sad about?
I have a history of CPTSD and I'm working on that. And I didn't know that I couldn't feel because I was very disassociated for a long time. And the last few months, the work that I've been doing, coming back to realization and being present, seeing how void of emotion I am, except when it's like anxiety or sadness or just like, I don't want to put labels, but kind of negative emotions, it makes you question things and makes you not be able to appreciate life, I guess, because it's just like, why is all this sadness? It doesn't, it's not a good place to be in.
So first of all, could we all just focus in the heart and radiate compassion to Annie?
Thank you.
And raise your hand if you felt that way in life before. So Annie, everyone's hand is going up. You are not alone in this experience, and I really thank you for your vulnerability. And here's what I want to offer this community, part of the magic of the heart that I've found. I have yet to meet any emotion that isn't love at its core, including sadness and anxiety. So you wouldn't feel sad or anxious, Annie, if you didn't care. What happens is when we care so passionately that we are willing to get our knickers in a twist over it, then it throws us out of balance and feels draining rather than fueling for us. And the heart, part of the magic of the heart, is that it can bring us back to the love at the core of all feeling that would balance and renew us and make of us a contribution to the world. So Annie, my promise to you is that in your sadness and in your anxiety is love. And with tools that help you access the intelligence of the heart, you can find that again. If I could give you that, would it make spending this hour together worth it? And I think we had to mute.
Yes.
Oh, no, you can unmute. I just wanted you not to talk and think we could hear you while you're muted.
Yes, it would.
So this speaks to the magic of heart science. And I wonder if I might, Kyle and Leah, bring up some images that help convey this, because I also want to honor, Annie, that you said you've been struggling to recover from PTSD. I am guessing everyone here has a personal experience of that or a loved one who does. And certainly that's how I came to the magic of heart science, was I myself had PTSD from living in a war zone as a teenager doing aid work to orphans. And I almost died several times from my PTSD, both due to the physical impact of it on my physiology and also the psycho-emotional impact. So I almost died from the physical symptoms, and I almost died by suicide. Until I found this heart science that was like a key in the door to set me free from PTSD. And now I work with my team at HeartMath, bringing these tools into the VA hospitals across the United States and in a few other countries as well, working with veterans with PTSD. So for everyone I've worked with who has PTSD, including myself, the very possibility that we could heal from that and be cured of it and live into post-traumatic growth rather than post-traumatic stress is magical. Seems impossible. And when it becomes real, wow, that is real magic in motion. I have a colleague at the VA that I trained in this HeartMath body of work we're talking about today. HeartMath, by the way, for those who've never heard of it before, is a research institute based in California, but working all over the world, bringing peer-reviewed, evidence-based, scientifically researched skills and technologies to help us self-regulate our physiology with the heart's power and intelligence. And we work with organizations and the general public, as well as hospitals and doctors and nurses and the United Nations and all 4 branches of the US military, because these skills change lives in very meaningful and powerful ways. And so I have a colleague at the VA who recently worked with a newly retired commander. They call it a DD-214 in the military, where this person had just transitioned from active duty status to being a veteran. And inside the Veterans Administration hospital system, they have a kind of in-house measuring metric tool by which they assess someone's PTSD and likelihood for life or quality of life compromise due to it. Falling in the 49th percentile on this metric is considered clinically significant for PTSD. This gentleman was in the 79th percentile, which is meaning his healthcare providers were considering admitting him to hospital due to the risk his PTSD was to himself and others. He refused. He did not want the stigma of it. He did not want to be treated for it. He wanted nothing to do with that. So his practitioner, my colleague and friend, taught him the simple skill we just did together called the quick coherence technique, as well as about 4 or 5 other skills. 6 weeks later, that was the only intervention he received. Plus, we have a biofeedback technology at HeartMath. So he was working with this little device in his phone, it hooks to your ear, and he worked with that. 6 weeks later, he was in this, I think it was the 7th or the 17th, I'd have to look it up, percentile for PTSD, considered non-clinically significant, no PTSD. For those of you that work in healthcare professions or have been treated in healthcare, that's considered unheard of, first of all, to heal from PTSD at all, but secondly, to heal that quickly. That is magic. So how was that done? Well, let me just see if I can pull up some fun images for you that will help demystify the magic of the heart. So give me just a moment to get my Zoom in order here. Can everyone see these two lines on the screen? If you had to pick which one of these lines would represent, and maybe you can put it in the chat, that feeling of sadness, anxiety, and PTSD that Annie was talking to, that all of us can relate to, the one on the left in red or the one on the right? Incoherence, says Anne. Does everybody agree? Yeah, left, red. Okay, we're in concordance around that. And which one would represent the feelings Annie was feeling anxious about not having? The love, the care, the compassion. Which line looks like love, compassion, or care to you? The one on the left or the blue, says Anne. Does everyone agree? Compassion and blue. So who besides Kyle and Leah, they're not allowed to answer. And Brigitte can't either, because I know they know. Who knows what these lines are? What do you think these lines represent? Anybody want to take a guess? Anne says heart rate variability. Absolutely. These are heart rhythms as impacted by our emotions. So when I say sadness and anxiety have love built into them, they're actually made of the same raw materials, the same stuff. Heart rhythm patterns moving in certain ways that change over 1,400 other things in our physiology, including the part of our brain perceiving life and responding to it. And this is why at HeartMath for a long time, their tagline was, "A change of heart can change everything." Because when we feel sadness and anxiety, if we get that heart rhythm that's erratic or incoherent, moving in a coherent way, we suddenly have access, or maybe not so suddenly. Sometimes it takes a little time, but 6 weeks isn't that much time when you consider how long, maybe Annie, you've had PTSD. My promise is the love is in there when we're able to start establishing new neurological patterns where the heart rhythm moves in a coherent way. And as I mentioned to you, this changes the part of the brain perceiving life and responding to it. So this to me is a huge part of the magic of the heart, and for sure the explanation of how heart magic heals PTSD. Because really quick, kind of oversimplified, forgiveness asked for that, neuroscience lesson. Essentially the brain, our human brain, has 3 levels to it. There's this hind brain or brain stem where a lot of the characters my nephew is for Halloween today, like he was a dinosaur and a shark and a snake or a lizard, I think. They all have this long brain stem that's responsible for just binary stay alive operations. I'm going to approach you and eat you. or you're bigger than me, you might eat me, let me get away. Or, let's procreate together and make the species continue. So in a lot of modern bars, we see hindbrain activity, approach, avoid. Breathe in, breathe out, hot, cold, basic survival stuff. Then I like to make up a story that the dinosaurs all lined up at the Apple store when this great new plugin or app called Emotion got added to the system. But the dinosaurs all got turned away because they didn't have the right hard drive, the hardware. For that, we needed this limbic brain. My cats have got it. All mammals have it. So we went out that day at the Apple store. We got this wonderful stuff called Emotion. In that midbrain where you see this red dot representing actually the thalamus and also the amygdala, which isn't on this slide. And the early emotions were all designed to help us approach and avoid better. They were magic. Because if I'm afraid of you, I'm going to run away faster. If I'm anxious, I'm going to run away faster. If I'm angry, I'll attack you better. So these early emotions were enhancements to our survival software. But then, you know how engineers are, they get paid for, have you ever noticed this? This is totally an aside, but I'm always thinking, why are they always changing the color of this or the texture of that and all these software programs? It's keeping engineers in business, but they're also constantly upgrading things, aren't they? Well, our human physiology is the same way. So some of us mammals kept upgrading. We kept downloading the new upgrade, unlike me and my computer and my tablet where I need to download the upgrade. It's been a while. And part of that upgrade was this third part of the brain that's hidden behind my bangs right now, partly because I don't have inner security about these deep grooves. And I don't like getting Botox. There they are. So we'll talk about these well-developed frowning muscles I have. I guess my inner security fashion doesn't go that far. But anyway, the frontal lobes of the brain are right here behind my bangs. Everybody could pet your forehead and say, good frontal cortex. This is the part of our brain that is listening to this conversation. Verbal communication. Jeremy read that gorgeous vision of your community. Oh my God, I was like, that's so enrolling, I'm in. That capacity to have vision for the future rather than just live imprisoned by the past, forever confined to react, to reenact all of our past behaviors, that ability to have new ideas, new behaviors, to set goals and take actions toward them. All this is frontal lobe stuff. Creativity, innovation, conflict resolution, dialogues, empathy, good stuff going on in those frontal lobes. But the whole system was designed intelligently that if I feel upset, if I'm sad or anxious or afraid or angry, that chaotic heart rhythm pattern sends a signal up the vagus nerve and along 4 other pathways, telling that frontal lobe to shut down. And that's what that looks like. It shuts off our access to those innovative, creative, impulse control, visionary goal setting, acting in alignment with our values. All that capacity goes, and we get the vocabulary of approach, avoid. So Annie, when you feel kind of cut off or disconnected in your anxiety or your sadness, I need you to know that that's true for all of us, because the part of our brain responsible for social emotional connecting cuts off when we feel those things. And we feel alone, but we're not. It's just our connection is up here. Can everybody see my thumbnail? Our connection is like above our forehead and we're looking at life through a little peephole. And we can't see it anymore because we need some way to reactivate that self and situational awareness center, the capacity for social and emotional connection, the capacity to look in toward a future, a vision, and step toward it. And this is the piece of science that was absolutely life-saving for me. When we learn to just pause and get coherent, the way we all did at the beginning of our dialogue, that coherent rhythm, even if you don't feel a change right away, if you just do heart-focused breathing with an even inhale and exhale, communicates up to the brain that it's safe to open up that higher cortex. So the connections with people and the solutions to our problems that have been out of our view suddenly come into plain sight. That is the healing of isolation and PTSD. It allows us to be free of our past and live toward a more optimal future. So that's all a lot to say. Annie, I want to do a check-in with you because you are vulnerable, authentic. You took your Halloween mask off and shared your real self with us and gave all of us a gift. So first, I just want to check with you, Annie, and see how is that landing, and do you have any questions or anything you want to share?
Thank you for that presentation because it just reinforces everything. You know, like, yeah, the feelings are there, like the anxiety and stuff, but honestly, I guess I do love because I keep fighting to feel, and I keep hearing about like slow down and just take a breath and do the work, do the meditations, do the like, just trying to feel and it'll come. And, sometimes when you get impatient and it's so true, I'm so shut off and everything, but I'm gonna be persistent, I never give up. That's one thing.
I love that you're appreciating this about yourself. And I just want to bring our heart rhythms back for a moment and ask you, is impatience more like the red line or the blue one?
The red one.
Yeah. And so right now, and let's all do this together with Annie, if we focus our attention in the area around the heart, the chest area, imagining the breath is flowing in through the heart and out through the heart with an even inhale, even exhale. And trade in impatience for curiosity and self-appreciation for your diligence and effort. So breathe that appreciation for yourself, Annie, that you just shared with us in through the heart and out through the heart. As you breathe that self-appreciation in for your tenacity and your refusal to give up, does that feel more like the blue line or the red one?
The blue one.
So you just showed that you can self-regulate. And by doing that, you just changed over 1,400 things in your physiology in a heartbeat. Now your task is to not get impatient to stabilize there. Just look to create more little micro moments of that in higher ratios. And as you build little pearl moments like that in ratios throughout your day, they'll string together eventually into a necklace. And that will string together eventually into a better life. Just heal the moment. Don't worry about healing the past. One moment at a time. What will happen over time is you'll create a new default setting, a new neurological baseline where the blue line is what you home to naturally. That becomes a healing of PTSD. Thank you so much for sharing, Annie. Anything else you need around that before we go to Anne's question as her hand is up?
No, thank you for everything.
It's a pleasure having you here. Thank you for being courageous and taking your Halloween mask off. Anne, did you have something you wanted to share or ask?
I do. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with you. So I've been practicing the heart coherence. I've done the challenges with Leah and Kyle. And so I've been practicing this now for several months, I guess. And it's powerful and I love it. And I loved what you just shared about, especially about the brain stuff. So I'm recovering from multiple brain injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the areas specifically that has been a challenge is the midbrain. So I'm working with this phenomenal, amazing functional neurologist who's assisting me, and we're making great progress. And but yes, she's brilliant, and she has the biggest heart. Oh my gosh, she's incredible. But so one of the areas that has been the biggest challenge for me is my sympathetic system is firing really high all the time. So, I have a host of things that I do to address that, calming my vagus nerve in a multitude of treatments, and using the heart coherence a lot. It's becoming like kind of my go-to, after doing this challenge with Kyle and Leah. I've really, embraced this as a daily practice. So my question would be, I'm doing many things, but this is a piece of my brain healing that's not quite moving. That needle's not quite moving in this specific area yet. It's moved in many areas. So what other things could I do, or what other maybe nuances, or is there some little piece, some nugget that I need to bring into my practice to move that needle for me so that I get more in balance with my sympathetic, my parasympathetic. So my sympathetic's really high, my parasympathetic's really low. And in fact, one of the pieces that my neurologist suggested to me is when I'm doing the heart coherence that I make my exhale longer than my inhale to try to
so that I just want to acknowledge, and that's sometimes what I will advise patients, is not heart coherence. Making the exhale longer is not going to give you heart rate variability coherence. So that's not HeartMath. What it is that so everybody try this, find your pulse. Either you can find it at your neck or your wrist. And just notice what happens to your heart rate, its speed, when you breathe in. And notice what happens to your heart rate or speed when you breathe out. So what happens when you inhale?
I think it increases when I inhale.
It speeds up your heart. What happens when you exhale, Anne?
It decreases.
It slows down.
It's not moving much actually for me, but it should, right?
Well, enough for you to notice it is. So good on ya. So the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems that Anne is referring to are two branches of what's called the autonomic nervous system, or the ANS for short. When I was in medical school, the autonomic nervous system was like a holy grail of medicine, because the American Institute of Stress said 90 to 97% of doctors' visits are stress related. And the ANS, or the autonomic nervous system, it's also called the peripheral system, because it's the nerves that leave the spinal cord and talk to the body, and how the body talks back to the spinal cord and brain. And that system in simplified terms is like the fuel pedal and the brakes of your car. So what Anne is sharing is I'm all pedal to the metal and my car doesn't have adequate brakes. It can go 0 to 60 in no seconds, but I can't stop. That's kind of what she's saying when she says, due to my TBI, my autonomic nervous system is out of whack and I'm locked in manic mode. And so the heart rhythm and breath are very related to the autonomic nervous system. In fact, they're a viewfinder into it. When you look at this heart rate variability, if you look at the coherent blue line, what you're seeing is the heart speeding up a little, that's the accelerator, and the heart slowing down a little. Speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down. When there's not a balance of fuel and brakes, you get this really herky-jerky line. In fact, if you look at this system, it's kind of, this red line is a little bit probably what we would see in your heart rhythm. And because you see more spikes in the upper portion, less coherent dynamic between the upper and lower. So the even inhale, even exhale in that quick coherence technique we did balances your fuel pedal and your brakes. That's part of the magic of what's going on in your physiology. That's what heart coherence is, or quick coherence from HeartMath. It's even fuel, even brakes. Now, when we're treating illnesses like this traumatic injury your system has had, Anne, it's advisable, for example, or when Annie's feeling anxiety, to double the length of the exhale over the length of the inhale, because that's the braking period. So you can tinker with that. It's just not the quick coherence technique. It's not HeartMath. That's working with your physiology in a different way. Now, here's the problem with it. For some people who, like me, who had PTSD, and this could apply to you, and I don't know, we have to delve into what about your brain injury has activated this hypervigilance. Because if the sympathetic or fuel pedal is getting activated due to hypervigilance, because we're afraid we're going to die, then any attempt to bring up the braking system triggers more anxiety. For people who are truly diagnosed with PTSD, if you give them a sedative, it will have the opposite effect and trigger anxiety or a panic attack. Because their system goes, oh, no, 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 we can't wind down. It's not safe. So they jack up more. So you can't sedate that. And that will be the same thing with extending that exhale. The system, if it's hypervigilant, will perceive that as a sedation and jack it up even more to keep you awake. So this is why at HeartMath, the researchers have emphasized even fuel, even brakes, because that gets a person in the zone state where the body knows, I'm not going to sleep, I'm not zoning out, so I can afford to respond to a threat. But I also don't have to be hyper activated in order to do that, because that's an energy drain. So I can finesse the fuel and the brakes. So we'd have to know, Anne, what is it about your injuries that has led to this hypertonicity in the sympathetic system? Do you know?
Physically, you mean? I guess
Physically
I don't know.
or emotionally. It could be either one. And that could be, for example, a topic even for a private session, because then we would really, I would do an intake with you and explore what happened in those TBIs. What did you feel emotionally? How do you feel emotionally about it now? And you can rewire that. So not uncommon if you have a physical injury to have an emotional apprehension about it. I worked with a woman once who was the only survivor of a plane crash. She walked away without a bruise, but she just had chronic back pain for 16 years and was hunched over. So she came to my office. I saw her once and we did a kind of intake like I would do with you, Anne, and unpacked it. And it turned out her body was still bracing for impact. She had hunched down when the pilot said brace for impact and then never got up in her musculoskeletal system. So I used a technique using some gentle tapping, some HeartMath combined with it along her autonomic nervous system pathways to presence her nervous system and say, you don't need to brace for impact anymore. It's done. She stood up and felt no pain in her back for the first time in 16 years and walked away. I never saw her again because it healed. So we'd have to unpack, but one thing I can say is this regulation of the autonomic nervous system and its impact on the central nervous system has a huge amount of efficacy, well-researched and proven in TBI, both intrinsic or organic from things like MS or other neurological diseases, as well as external from blunt force trauma and things like that. So I've already sent Kyle a whole list of research papers and anecdotes and personal experiences of how these skills heal TBI. So maybe Kyle can send all that out to the community and you could share it with your amazing functional neurologists. They might really enjoy having access to that research as well, Anne.
Definitely. If anyone wants that, just put your email in the chat and I'll definitely send that to you all.
And to that point that some of these things, like I would need to do a more thorough intake with you to assess why is it that your sympathetic nervous system got locked in hypervigilance and excess tonicity due to your brain injuries. What we'll do is I will put in the chat a link where any of you watching could sign up for a complimentary consultation, either with me or one of our Heart Ambassador, HeartMastery facilitators that's trauma informed. So you could experience that deeper dive into what's going on and how to heal it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that information. And I do notice as I've just started playing with trying to do the longer exhale, that I do feel a revving up when I do that.
Well, that's and let me tell you, your capacity, Anne, for that self-awareness to observe what's happening in your body can be your greatest ally in healing. So really appreciate yourself for that self-awareness. And that would be a good indicator that part of what your sympathetic overdrive is post-trauma in hypervigilance to prevent another injury. So then what we need to do is talk to your nervous system and let your nervous system know you'll have more self and situational awareness to prevent future injury by balancing autonomic function rather than being on the defense all the time.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure. And so right now I am putting in the chat the link to our free consult request form. So you can just, if you fill that out and say you are here part of the Quantum Healer Collective conversation, then we'll provide those complimentary consults for you.
Well, thank you so much, Sheva, for your time. That was amazing.
Thank you.
What we like to do at the end is read a prayer just to all those awakening at this time. So we dedicate the merit of this meeting to all of those awakening at this precious time. May our efforts to better ourselves help shift the planetary consciousness from fear into love. May this energy ripple out into the world and awaken those with closed hearts, illuminate closed minds, and inspire all to live within the presence of compassion and generosity. So thank you so much for being here. That was incredible. I want to thank Annie for getting vulnerable and everyone that commented and just everyone for being here. We love you all.
Kyle, I need you to email me your beginning invocation and your ending prayer because they're so juicy. I just love it. I want to share it with Heart Ambassadors. Can I?
Oh, of course. Definitely.
Absolutely beautifully written. You know, we're talking about magic and how we wield words really matters. Someone taught me recently that spelling
Yes.
comes from casting spells. We actually create with language, and the way the initial intro to this and the outro prayer are some of the most beautiful spells I've heard. So thank you all for this magical time together in the heart.
Thank you, Sheva. Hopefully we'll be in touch soon, co-creating something and just having fun in the heart space.
I'm always game with you, Kyle and Leah, always.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Happy Halloween.
Sending love to everybody.